Okay, so welcome to another one of these brief team sessions that we do on Wednesdays after convocation. Today, very briefly going to show something that I usually show students how to do in the lecture we have in population-based medicine, but it's how to take a clinical query, um, a PICO question, and translate that into what it looks like as an advanced search in PubMed. So again, PICO being patient or problem or population, I being the intervention for that problem, the C being the comparison, and the O being the outcome that we're looking for. And this will be very brief. Again, this is something I normally show students in the population-based medicine course, but I thought it'd be good to have a recording of it for people who are interested. So we're going to be looking at PubMed, and if you go to the LUCOM Medical Library page and expand databases, and we have our PubMed link down here. It's important to use that if you want to connect to holdings in the university, because this link for PubMed actually connects all of the abstracts found to full text holdings here at Liberty University. So it's kind of a shortcut to find full text articles that you're looking for. And so this probably looks familiar if you've used PubMed. And you'll see underneath the search box, there's an advanced button or link. So if we click on advanced, it takes us to our PubMed advanced search builder. So something I've shown before is to really have effective searches in PubMed, you want to be sure you're using the controlled vocabulary that PubMed uses, which is what they call medical subject headings. And there's actually a database, a mesh database, where you can find the controlled vocabulary for the terms that you're using to build your search. And if you look down here at the bottom where it says NCBI literature resources, you'll see there's a link to mesh right here. And so if I open up that in another tab, this is actually the database of the controlled vocabulary. So for the example that I was going to show today is that we're looking at high blood pressure. Okay, so we're going to look for high blood pressure as our population or our problem. And we see our first hit here is hypertension. So the subject, the medical subject for the controlled vocabulary we want to use is hypertension, not high blood pressure. That's going to make our search more effective. So if I type in hypertension, add this to my query and add to my history. Okay, so whoops, I've already got it filtered here. Well, it looks like I've been playing with this before. I was looking at systematic reviews. So there's almost 7,500 systematic reviews for hypertension. And for the intervention, I want to look at beta blockers, but again, I want to make sure I'm using the mesh term for beta blockers. And you can actually see it starts to pop up. Adrenergic beta blockers looks like my term that I want to use. So I'm going to add that term to a query. And I found 487 results within systematic reviews, which is a filter I turned on earlier. So now if I have some history here, I can build this query. So if I add, actually I'm going to start with hypertension. I'm going to add that to my query. And I'm going to add adrenergic beta blockers with an and. So now I'm looking for hypertension and adrenergic beta blockers, which is narrowing my search. As I add that to my history, you see I've only found 119. So now another treatment might be diuretics. So if I want to see is my comparison and add that, I found 706. So now if I really want to make a narrow, specific PICO question, advanced search in PubMed, I can add hypertension and adrenergic beta blockers and then add diuretics and add that to my search history. And now you can see I'm getting down to very manageable results. 38. This already has a filter turned on for systematic reviews because I was looking at this earlier, but there's 38 papers now instead of 7,500 that I initially was looking at for hypertension. These 38 papers are specifically comparing adrenergic beta blockers and diuretics in the treatment of hypertension. So if I click on these results, you'll see There's 4 pages. I've got 38 results. It's got beta blockers for hypertension, first-line drugs for hypertension. But you'll notice another filter. I already had systematic review turned on, so I'm only looking at systematic reviews here, which is really up there at the top level of levels of evidence. And you can also, if you want the most current research, which you probably do for a clinical question, you can use this little slider over here in PubMed, and you'll see it's looking at things between 1997 and 2023. I think 5 years is usually a pretty good span to look for the most current clinical evidence. And when I decrease my span for the past 5 years, you can see I've got 7 papers. So now I've got 7 very specific answers to my PICO question for comparing the treatment of hypertension with adrenergic beta blockers and with diuretics. And so this is how you do it. There was actually a tool for a while called PubMed for handheld, and it was a PICO form where you could literally, it had boxes for your population or problem, your intervention, your comparison outcome, and it would pull things up. But this is a really powerful way to do this in PubMed. And you can do this. I've done examples with this, comparing rates of infection with hand washing as compared to just using hand sanitizer or foam hands or like Purell or something. And there's other examples and if you're interested in this, I'll show more about it in the lecture on sources of clinical information and population-based medicine in May. But I just wanted to have a recording here so that those who are interested could see how you can turn a PICO question, an evidence-based medicine question, into an advanced search in PubMed. So again, the recording for this will be up on the LibGuide along with all the other recordings, and I thank you for your time.